Hello ladies and gentlemen, and today we have a very special goal in mind. There are a lot of places on this lovely little planet of ours that are disturbing for one reason or another. Whether we're talking about an island full of corpses, human bodies, and horrible memories, or simply a mental asylum where people were tortured under the guise of fixing mental illness. There are plenty of places on this planet that makes chills go up the spine, and today we are here to count down 10 of them. Today we're counting down the top 10 horrifying places that you can visit today. Number 10, PROVEGLIA Island. This uninhabited 17-acre island was once used as a dumping ground for dying Romanian-era plague victims to remove them from society. Once the dead bodies were dumped into large piles and pits, they were either buried or burned. As the plague tightened its grip on the population, they begun to panic, and those residents showing the slightest sign of sickness were taken from their homes and to the island of PROVEGLIA. Men, women, children left to die in agony. It's estimated the tiny island saw as many as 160,000 bodies during this time. More recently, in 1922, the island was home to a mental hospital run by a cruel doctor who performed lobotomies on patients with cruel old-age tools like drills, chisels, hammers. He later took his own life by jumping from the bell tower. It is said to be haunted by tens of thousands of tortured spirits, the most famous of which is the plague victim called Little Maria, who it is claimed to stand crying looking over the stream that runs through the center of the island. Today, PROVEGLIA is uninhabited and tourism to the island is strictly forbidden. Every now and again, lapping waves to the shore uncover charred, buried human bones.
Number 9. Chernobyl. Once a large community, the now toxic city has been long abandoned and decay has set in. Pripyat city in the Ukraine has once housed the families of thousands of men and women working at the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant. But on the 26th of April, 1986, disaster struck when an explosion at the plant caused radiation to leak from its nuclear reactor. The 50,000 residents of Pripyat, now a ghost town, were evacuated in a major government operation starting the day after the catastrophe on April 27th. Now more than 25 years after the city was emptied, it stands untouched from the day everyone left. The Chernobyl explosion was the world's worst nuclear accident and is the only one classified as level 7 on the International Nuclear Event Scale. The city sits derelict and surrendered to the inevitable takeover of nature.
Number 8, Suicide Forest. The Inokahara Forest in Japan, while beautiful, is a rather popular site for a disturbing subject matter. It's the most popular site in Japan for suicides. This site holds many bodies, and so many bodies that the Japanese gang, the Yakuza, pay homeless people to sneak into the forest and rob corpses of many people who end their lives. The authorities sweep the bodies only on an annual basis, as the forest is at the base of Mount Fuji, and as such, is too dense to patrol more frequently. Pairs of shoes, both for children, adults, and teens, are lined up along moss-covered, gnarled logs. The density of these packed trees blocks the sun and wind, producing a dark, eerie blanket of quiet, which is further compounded by the curious lack of wildlife in the area. Compasses do not work properly in the forests. Because of this, many people who choose to end their life wander deep into the forest, and sometimes are not found till even years after the fact, or if at all. Some claim the dimly lit forest is rumored to be the home of demons and ghosts who prowl the landscapes, and that terrifies travelers. And that these lonely souls who commit suicide here are mysteriously drawn to Okahara by the supernatural forces within the forest that beckon them.
Number 7. Paris Catacombs. Beneath this bustling city of 12 million people lies a dark subterranean world holding the remains of 6 million bodies of its former inhabitants. In the 18th century, the cemeteries of the city were becoming overpopulated, giving rise to improper burials, open graves, and unearthed corpses. In 1786, limestone quarries under the city were blessed and turned into the Paris Catacombs. Going down into the catacombs carried risk due to the many collapsed tunnels, and the possibility of attempting to come back to the surface and being confronted by a sealed trapdoor is a real one. The catacombs of Paris were shut down to the public in 2009. The reason given was that it was closed due to the amount of vandalism. But the accounts are vague, and the stories surrounding what is inside the catacombs are described as being very dark. It has long been rumored that people go down into the catacombs to practice dark arts. People would travel under to perform necromancy. It has also been said that if you walk down the tunnels late at night, the walls would start to talk to you. Some people say that spirits inside will make you mad if you stay in there for too long. There have been reports that even after leaving the catacombs, visitors have felt a presence follow them home. They no longer wish to stay underground, locked deep away underneath the city. Number 6. Island of the Dolls. Isla de las Muñecas, also known as Island of the Dolls. Thousands of mutilated dolls hang from the trees and hide among the dense branches of the island, hung by a Mexican man who believed they would appease the troubled ghost of a small girl who died there over 50 years ago and who still haunts the woods today. Julian Santa Barrera retreated to the woods soon after she drowned in the nearby canal. He claimed he could hear her tormented screams and footsteps in the darkness. Many people said that the dolls, inhabited by tortured spirits, murdered the old man in 2001 when Julian drowned in the canal, just like the girl he found there over 50 years ago. Today, the island is popular with paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. People believe that the dolls that hang all around the island come alive at night, moving limbs, opening their eyes, and whispering to each other.
Number 5. The HOIA-BACIU Forest. The HOIA-BACIU Forest can be found in the heart of Transylvania, Romania, just outside of the ancient town of Cluj-Napoca. Often referred to as Romania's Bermuda Triangle, the dense woodland is notorious for paranormal activities, including UFO sightings, disembodied screams, and spectral visions that have even been caught on camera. Those who enter the HOIA-BACIU report experiencing high anxiety, nausea, migraines. Often, visitors emerge with incomplexable rashes, scratches, and burns on the skin. In one particular area of the forest, there is a clearing with no trees. Some paranormal investigators believe that that area has especially high activity. Many locals believe that the site is haunted and that if you enter, there is a possible chance that you will not return, and that the forest might even be home to the devil himself. Other legends include that the spirits of the murdered villagers have been trapped and are unable to move on. Visitors who have visited the forest often hear disembodied voices and sometimes even witness disembodied heads floating amongst the trees. In fact, according to legends, the forest is named after a local shepherd who, along with his 200 sheep, disappeared.
Number 4. The Door to Hell. The door to hell is a huge pit that is filled by what seems to be a hellish fire, but it is in fact an enormous blaze of natural gas coming from under the ground. From its burning mouth pours the stench of sulfur, fouling the local air and making anything with nasal cavities flee from the area. It glows day and night. The leaping flames nested are so ferocious that they produce a hazy glow which can be seen from several miles away. No one is quite sure when the fire in the 60-meter wide, 20-meter deep crater may go out, but it is known for certain that it was started after a drilling accident in 1971. When they first lit the gas crater on fire, they thought the fire would go out after a few days. It's been decades since, and the gas crater is still burning just as it did the day it was first lit. Spiders are seen plunging into the pit by the thousands, lured to their deaths by the glowing flame. No one is quite sure why they flock to the flaming pit to throw themselves in, making this glowing pit one terrifying place to visit. Number 3. H. Holmes Murder Castle. Born Herman Webster Mudgett in 1861 in Galwington, New Hampshire, H. Holmes was one of America's first serial murderers who preyed mostly on blonde women. However, this preference did not stop him from killing men and children too. In 1893, H. Holmes had a 3-story building constructed, creating an elaborate house of horrors. To avoid anyone knowing the true layout of the hotel, Holmes repeatedly replaced the crews involved in the hotel's construction. The upper floors contained his living quarters, and many small rooms where he tortured and killed his victims. Some of these rooms had gas jets, so that Holmes could asphyxiate people of his choosing. The hotel included many trapdoors and chutes, leading down into the basement, so that body disposal would be easier. His basement workshop was lined with shelves of bottles of poisons and acids, to kill and dissolve his victims. In 1938, a United States post office was built on the site that resulted in much death and destruction. Rumors circulated about the location being haunted, and some claim that the post office is haunted due to the history of the building that once stood, and that the screams of those tortured by Holmes can still be heard at night. Number 2. Chapel of Bones. This small chapel, located in the city of Évora, Portugal, is the final resting place for thousands of bodies that were exhumed from the city's graves. The estimated number of bodies that are used in this chapel is around 5,000. No one knows who they were or why they were even in this chapel, but rumor has it that a powerful man had once cursed them. When they refused burial in local cemeteries, the corpses received shelter in the chapel. Other rumors claim that the chapel holds the bodies of the many plague victims that died around the time of the chapel's construction, between 1460 and 1510. It is said that the monks' reasoning for the chapel was to bring their brothers to the contemplation of volatile and transitory nature of life. Similar to the catacombs of Paris, during the time of the Chapel of Bones construction, the city's 2 cemeteries were overflowing, and the remains had to be exhumed to create more space. That's when 3 of the monks thought to create a chapel with the bones and skulls serving as decoration for the walls, columns, arcs, and domes of the chapel.
Number 1. Hellingly Hospital. The first patients admitted to Hellingly Hospital in 1903, and for many years of the asylum, provided all manner of innovative treatment for mental disorders along with the typical patients. Hellingly was once a home to women who had been incarcerated for having children out of wedlock. Isolated from everything, having one single road and its own train line, the psychiatric asylum remained self-sufficient for years. Patients and staff used to live under the same roof that many red brick buildings linked by closed hallways, and offering therapeutic, relaxing views on the surrounding quiet and green courtyard side. The asylum closed its doors in 1994. Since then, it's been decaying and forgotten and rotting in the middle of nowhere. The hospital today has suffered over 20 years of neglect, arson, and has destroyed several buildings, most notably the administration block. Vandals have subsequently been removing all the windows to make it easier to access the ground floor. which have received the brunt of these attacks, and now stands a derelict and decay reminder of a painful history of mental health treatment of the past. Now, a lot of you may think that this is not that bad. However, when you take into the account the types of treatments that they performed in the 1900s, it was awful. And there wasn't any regular standard of how to treat patients, especially those of mental illness, oftentimes treating them as a subhuman class. These people were forced to endure things that you wouldn't even wish upon your worst enemy. So keep that in mind as you take a look at this image of Hellingly Hospital. Hello, I am your host, ThatCreepyReading, and as you can tell, I was not the only person in this video. There were a lot of people helping me out, and it would be nice if you checked out their channels too. The editor of this production was BlameitonJorge, and I thank him wholeheartedly for making the awesome effects that you're about to, well, that you already did see. You can also check out Let's Read's channel, and a few of his videos are similar to the kind of content that I make, and you might enjoy that yourself. And if you're interested for more top list-like content, the person who helped me write this was CreepyCasesOf, and you can find him linked here. Thank you for paying attention, watching, and enjoying my video. And if you would like to subscribe to this channel yourself, we won't disappoint you with future content. Also, if you want to help support the show financially, I do have a Patreon linked on the screen and in the description below. I'm your host, ThatCreepyReading, and I hope to see you soon.